Good morning. Hey, I'm Stacy. This is Walking in My Shoes this morning, and we are loving my veteran. Um, Everybody join in, get your coffee, come to the table. It's going to be an interesting day. Last week we talked about PTSD from the eyes of the veteran. Today we're really going to approach a topic. We started it yesterday on living with PTSD with someone who has PTSD and loving them and some of the challenges that we face. They're hard to talk about. It's kind of like the elephant kept in the room. We don't a lot of times share our struggles with our families. One, because people who don't understand this don't get it, and we kind of don't want to share that all with them because the typical answer is leave, protect yourself, get out. You shouldn't be subjected to that. When the reality is we've chosen this life and we love them. And so, therefore, we have to learn to live within that confines. So, let me kind of go share a story with you. Again, I have to thank my veteran because he allows me to open up, and it's not always the easiest thing for us to do. But how often do we get in this day where the day is going great and we seem to think that everything is fine? And out of nowhere, out of a clear blue, something sets something in motion, sets something off. And all of a sudden, some simple question turns into a feeling of anger or a feeling of hurt. And it goes from this exciting, pleasant day to a day where we're kind of evening or moment where we're kind of walking on this eggshell. And we do it a lot in our life, and we don't realize that we do that in our life so much. And so a lot of it is truly communication. But what ends up happening is we sit there quiet on the couch and we listen to them talk, and we go through this over and over again, and we end up going to bed um, with them. And I know that for me, I kind of roll over and I just feel ugh, inside. And the questions become, in my own head sometimes, why do I do this? Well, I do it because I love him. Um, but then the night becomes filled with him having deep sighs, whether it's about me or not. I take it that way. And it just ends up where we're not comfortable. And then, of course, we wake up in the morning and everything is good. And we're back to being our normal, happy, functioning selves. But what I found was I am terrible at setting personal boundaries. Boundaries, my space. I'm great at building walls, but I'm not good at setting boundaries. And that's going to kind of be an interesting way to explain this as we go through the events of today and we talk about it more. You're going to kind of understand where I'm coming from. But let's just take a typical day in any typical life and let's just go through this day. So 6 o'clock in the morning, the alarm clock goes off. You roll over, you're sleepy. You may or may not hit snooze, and you're thinking, God, let me have 9 more minutes. So you get your 9 more minutes. And in that 9 minutes, you probably get the best sleep you've had all night. So it goes off the second time you get up, and on your way to either get the coffee started or to get a shower, you think of all the things you have to accomplish in the day. So it can be like, I have laundry, I have to get the kids ready for school, I have to get lunches fixed. What am I going to do for supper? What is the project waiting for me at work? What is on our list to do today? And so, in the few minutes it takes you to get from out of bed to the coffee maker or out of bed to the shower, you've created this list that is huge and insurmountable. And so we've already allowed this list of the day, excuse me, to come into our lives before we do anything else, before we get that first sip of coffee. This list has come into our lives. So that comes in. And now let the day unfold. So we ran around like a chicken with no head on in the morning, making sure everybody else is taken care of. And we now get in the car to go to work or do our thing. And so we realize as we're riding down the road, our makeup isn't on. So, what was the analogy the one girl used? Thank goodness for long stoplights. So, you can put your makeup on in the car on the way to work. So you get to work, you slide into your office or your meeting a few minutes late, and you slide in there, and your day begins. And what you have on your calendar to do for the day, now 15 other people have come in and dropped stuff on your desk to do or into your day to do. There's other things that have arisen. So now we're at our lunch break, that time. I'm going to go get a salad. I'm going to go sit on a park bench. I'm going to go spend 10 minutes of me time. And your friend calls. Same friend that always has the problem, always has the crisis. Well, they call. Well, let me tell you about my day. My day has been my husband's done this, my car's done this, my life has done this, my something's done this. So now your half an hour of peace is now filled with them. And in the back of your mind, you're thinking, just one time for me, just one time for me, for me. But we answered the phone. So there we go. You're running out the door on your way to get to another meeting, maybe with your kids' school or maybe to get home. And your boss comes up to you and says, oh, I have this project I need done. And by the way, I need it done in the morning. And yes, you sent me this stuff 2 weeks ago to work on it, but can you just proofread it for me? And proofread it for me interprets and translates to, can you just do it for me? And I need it at 9 o'clock in the morning. So now you have this new project that you're going to take home and you're going to bring into your space and you're going to do it. And I know for like Carl and I, I do this, and I do this every day. And he owns a detail business, so I help him with that and schedule appointments and do this. And so by 6 or 7 o'clock at night, he wants us. Well, I get messages, I get phone calls from my kids, I get this, I get that coming in. And so to him, it is an invasion of our space. I allow that to happen. That's something I do. So I don't set those boundaries. I don't set that, yes, I want to help all y'all. Yes, I want to have somebody call me and say I'm having a bad day. Yes, I want to listen to my kids, my grown kids, and what their day's been like. Yes, I want to talk to my mama. Yes, I want to talk to my friends. But I do it and I allow it to come into a time that may or may not be the best time for us. So we allow that to go on. You cook dinner. Everybody goes on about their merry way, and you're the one who's sitting there cleaning up the kitchen. Still got that 5 hour project that's got to be done for your boss by 9 o'clock in the morning. And so we climb into bed. It's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and we realize that our entire day has been done for somebody else. We have set no boundaries. We have not put this fence up. What we do, though, is we build a wall. A wall of resentment builds up around us. A wall of resentment builds up, especially when it comes to us in our bedrooms sometimes. We build this wall, not a fence, a wall. So think about it as your property. Think about it as your home. So I have a fence around our backyard, but we have a property line around the front. And what's in my property, we take care of. We cut the grass, we rake the leaves. Well, sometimes we rake the leaves. But what's in our property, we take care of. When somebody comes into it uninvited, which happened the other night, by the way, somebody riding a golf cart, I guess they're looking for a place to hunt deer, came into our property uninvited, it was not a good situation. Carl goes out there and meets them. Well, you don't necessarily go to a veteran's house in a state of heightened awareness and ride a golf cart on their back property because it doesn't always end well. They come out with a gun. It's just the way it is. But this person invaded our space. So setting personal boundaries is the same concept. Don't build the wall, set the boundaries. Because if you build a wall, whatever's inside of that wall is going to stay inside of that wall. Whatever's outside of that wall is going to remain outside of the wall. So the bad that you built the wall around is going to stay inside. The good that is outside the wall isn't coming in. So it's much easier to put a fence up that you can see both sides, that you can say, this is my space. This is my stuff. I know for us, it is really hard because we feel like we have to help our veteran through their PTSD moments. And that is true. We should help them through those PTSD moments. Their PTSD, as much as we want to take it away, and trust me, if I could take away every bad thing he feels, I would, but I can't. Often, and we even read this in the Bible, it says, pick up the yoke and help. Pick up the yoke and help. It doesn't say pull the load by yourself. That burden isn't yours alone. Use the analogy of a backpack. Okay, that's the load, whatever's in the backpack. So your veteran or you or your kids or your boss or your whatever, your mother, whomever, whatever they put in their backpack is their load to carry. Some days it may be heavy, some days it may be light, but that's their load. They can handle their load. It happens. Burden, on the other hand, is kind of like going to Lowe's and buying a refrigerator. The refrigerator is mine, right? But there's no way I can put that refrigerator in the bed of the truck by myself. I have to have someone help me lift that. So the refrigerator, while it is mine, getting it in the truck is a burden and it requires somebody to help. So utilize that analogy when it comes to PTSD. There are times that their PTSD moment is theirs. It is their load. Unfortunately, they carry that with them every day. It is their personal backpack. It is full of their stuff. As much as I want to carry that for them, I can't. But when it becomes overwhelming and they're having a moment, a day, a date, an event, something that has caused it to explode, it becomes a burden. And at that point, I can help and lift the burden together. I can't take it away from him because if I take the burden away and he can't pull the burden alone, and then I try to do it, I can't do it either. So that at that moment, it becomes a burden that we share. Does that make sense? When you kind of understand that analogy. So when we're going back to creating our personal boundaries, we determine what's in our life. What are we willing to allow in? Getting up in the morning and having this massive list in our head is something we allowed in. Nobody else put that on us. That is our list, our burden, our stuff, and we allowed it into our boundary. The fact that I answered the phone from my friend who I adore, but can be exhausting in a time that I needed me time, that is allowing that friend to cross into my boundary, my space, my peaceful space, that place I needed to be at today. That half an hour that I was looking forward to, I allowed somebody else in that space. So that's the boundary that we have to learn to set. Dishes, minor stuff. It's easier for us to do it sometimes than it is to get help doing it. So we take it on ourselves and we add this into our space. When the reality is it going to take a few days or weeks to get our kids to help us clear the table? Yes, it is. And is it going to be hard initially? Yes, it is. But when we set that boundary and that rule that they have to do that, guess what happens? It's no longer our load. It becomes a family burden, and they are helping us. So that's a boundary we create. I'm reading an incredible book. It's called Boundaries. And one of the analogies was, and it was just such a great story, is that these parents of a 20-some-year-old child went to the therapist and they're talking about their kid. And they're like, so the therapist says, well, where is he? And he's like, well, he didn't come. Okay, so he didn't come, but this is what's going on. He's been to school, he's partied, he's failed out. We didn't make him get a job. We didn't make him be responsible for his school. We didn't make him go to work. We just kept funneling him money. And he didn't do anything with his life. And now he won't go to work. And so now he's sitting here not working. And all this is going on. And I don't make him work. And he's just taking advantage of us. And now he's hanging out with people he shouldn't. And now he's probably into drugs too. And he just comes and goes out of our house like it's his own thing. And so the therapist looked at him and said, he doesn't have the problem you do. And they're like, what do you mean? You allowed that to happen. You didn't create boundaries, that there were consequences for his action. You allowed that to happen. The way he explained it was, here's your yard, right? And you got this sprinkler system on, and you're trying to water your grass and make your grass green and your grass lush. Your neighbor does nothing to his lawn and it's all dried up and withered away. But when your sprinklers come on, they water your neighbor's lawn and not yours. So now your neighbor has this gorgeous lawn and you don't. Well, why should the neighbor take care of his own lawn? You've done it for him. That's where this analogy is going. Why should our veteran take care of his PTSD on an ongoing basis when we do it for him? Why should he be accountable for that moment when we do it for him? Now, I'm not talking about when they're having an episode or when they're having a moment or when they get so depressed they become suicidal or when they're reaching out for help. I'm not talking about that. That is the burden. That's where we come in and help. But the day-to-day event of the PTSD is his or her load to carry. It's not ours. But if we carry it for them, then what happens? I go back and I look at all this stuff and I read and I've talked to spouses and I look at the stuff and it's like he does nothing. I'm the one who's doing this. I'm the one who's cleaning the house. I'm the one who's doing the dishes. I'm the one who's cooking the meal. I'm the one who's taking care of the kids and he's playing his video game because I don't want to upset him. Okay, but why should he? We're carrying his load. We're carrying our load. We're carrying the load of our kids. We're carrying the load of our job. We're carrying the load of the world. And we carry this load, right? And nobody is there to help us because they don't see it as a burden because we've done it for them. And when we carry their load, they're not accountable. So when you set your boundary has to be, this is yours to deal with. You are my partner. And as a partner, we're going to do these things. Everything in your relationship is not PTSD. If they suffered from PTSD related total trauma 24/7, they would be in a permanent facility. They're not. So what's happening is we have carried their load and then we don't understand why we can't get them to do things because we have decided to carry that load for them. As much as I want to take away PTSD from Carl, I can't. I can't do that. It is, and he has said this time and time again, and I am so grateful that he gives me this insight. He says, it's something in my head that I have to work through. I can't work through it. I can be there beside him, but I can't work through it for him. I can be there ready to take the load and help him with the burden, but I can't do it for him. Use the thing about a child learning to walk. When our kids are little, we kind of encourage them to walk and we hold them under the arms at first. And next thing we know, we're holding their finger, and they kind of walk around and they hold our finger and they can walk for miles holding our finger, but they won't let go. And then all of a sudden, they start to take their first steps. And we have this tendency to run behind them to try to catch them so they don't fall. That's what we do. We help them learn to walk. We were beside them, helping them learn to walk. But we didn't get down and hold their weight and put one foot in front of the other for them and make them walk. We helped them walk. And there's a huge difference in that. And now our kids walk and they run and they've learned. We helped them do that. Those are the things we have to embrace in where we're going. You have to decide what you can allow in your life. What can you let in your boundary? And I will tell you that saying no is okay. When you say no to somebody you love, it usually causes confrontation. So just saying to them and say, no, I'm not, isn't beneficial. When it's somebody you love, you can literally look at them and say, I'm here when you need me. I'm not going to do it for you, but I will be beside you. We try to push our veterans to get therapy because that's what we think they need, and they may need it. But the ultimate decision in getting therapy is theirs. Can we be beside them? Can we encourage them? Can we embrace them? Can we acknowledge that it is theirs? Yes. But we can't sit in the therapy chair for them. I can't go to therapy for him and come back and say, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you have to do. This is what you're going to do. Because when you do that, it doesn't work anyway. He has to be the one to go. He has to be the one to find a way to deal with it. He has to be the one who's there. Can I encourage him? Absolutely. Can I be beside him? Absolutely. Can I talk with him about what he's learned and help him bring that home and utilize those skills at home? Absolutely. But I can't do it for him. That's not in my boundary. So setting boundaries is incredibly important. You have to for your own self preservation. When you don't, when you're in this relationship and you have these moments that like I talked about earlier, that make you want to cry because the words hurt. Sometimes you need distance. And I'm not talking about packing your crap and moving out. I'm talking about just distance. Whether it's read a book, whether it's sit in the other room, whether it's just sit and look at a tree, whether it's doing something, having that lunch on the park bench, whatever it may be, you have to find that time. That is your healing. When things come into your boundary and create a sense of fear, you have to be able to live with that and get over that. The example goes back to the guy in the golf cart. Here we are in a world with turmoil, that we have a house that we rent on 25 acres for a reason. We want that space. We want that solitude. That's what we want. And when somebody came into that space, that put all of us, both of us on edge. So we both had to get past that. That we had to let that moment go. We had to take time to get over the fact that there was somebody in our space. And that's what we have to do when we create boundaries and somebody brings the negative into our space. Not going to listen to the negative today. You're bringing trash in my yard. Take your trash to your own trash. I cannot do this. I cannot do this. I need some time to heal. I need a few moments to get myself together. You gotta take those moments. You have to create that boundary. It's hard. It's tough. I don't do boundaries well. I build walls. My former marriage was for 28 years. And I built self-preservation walls around me. This was what I had to have around me to preserve me. Then when I get in this relationship, also often Carl says, I'm not your ex-husband. What he's saying is, let's chisel that wall away and let me in because I'm not. And those are why boundaries need to be set, but not set in stone. When we learn to let our veteran take care of his stuff, and we learn to differentiate what is PTSD and as I call it, what is bad behavior. But that's not necessarily true, because go back to the friend calling at lunch. If we allow our friend to call us at lunch every day and bitch and moan and complain, and we don't stop it by not answering the phone or by saying, look, I can't deal with this today. I'm sorry you're having a bad day, but I can't do this today. Or by looking at the boss when he drops that project on you at the last minute, it's going to take 5 hours and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and he wants it by 9 o'clock in the morning. And you look at him and say, okay, I'll handle it. When the reality should be, I understand this needs to be done. I gave you those numbers earlier. I will help you do whatever. But if I need to do this for you, if you want me to do this for you, then I'll come back to the office and do it and get paid because we bring it home with us, right? When our kids are out of control, sometimes it's easier to let them be out of control than it is to deal with it. Now, I can remember when my kids were little, and the psychologist, my oldest son had ADHD horribly bad, and the psychologist said, disciplining your children is much harder on you than it is on them because you must stick to. And those words have kind of always stuck with me. So when we set our boundaries, initially it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough because it takes effort to set those boundaries. And so right now you have you kind of like in the center and you have where you want to be and what boundaries you want to expand, but you got to build that new fence and you have to push that fence back and back. And you've got to get the garbage out. And it's going to be hard because people are going to push against your fence. Those boundaries are necessary for us Those boundaries are necessary for a good relationship. Those boundaries are necessary to be a good employee. Those boundaries are necessary to be a good mother. Those boundaries are necessary to be a good friend. I learned something on my phone that when people call me on my little phone right here, there's a little button I can use that says, "Can I call you back?" It makes me all excited now that I learned it. I'm learning how to use it. Um, let's look at this. I probably have um 15 messages on my phone since this morning. Guess what? I have it on silent. I'm no longer obsessed with what comes on my phone during my space. Carl doesn't get the phone calls that I get. So my family, my kids, and my mom know that if there's an emergency, especially at night, because my phone will go off all night, to call his phone because I don't even take it to bedroom anymore. It's kind of cool. So they know to call his phone because that's a boundary I put in place. Well, I am over the 30 minutes. We will discuss boundaries a ton more tomorrow. It is important. It is important for your self preservation. It is important for your relationships preservation. Do me a favor today. Take everybody else's load and start putting it in their backpacks. Whether you give it back to them or not today, that's okay. Just start to determine what needs to be in their backpack and not in yours. You have your own, they have their own, and when it gets overwhelming, we can help them carry the load together, but never by ourselves. I'm Stacy. We are Loving My Veteran. We will be back again in the morning. This will be posted obviously to YouTube and to our group page in just a few minutes. We'll get it hopefully on the website today. Don't forget that Thursday night we have Let's Talk, where we can all come together and support each other. And if you're in our group, I want to do some more um, sessions like these where we're actually doing it through Zoom and we can talk further. If you need one-on-ones or you want to do a group, please just let us know, send us a message, and we'll set these up because I think that being a community is where we're going to get through this. Again, y'all have a blessed day. Start packing everybody else's backpack. Take their credit out of yours. Have a blessed day, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.